everybody. Today we are going to talk about self-sabotage, everybody's favorite thing to do, not so much to have the results of. So, and this is
a pastime.
Yeah. So we're all guilty of this in some way or other. And I think as you get healed and all that kind of stuff, the main thing that it's not that you don't ever self-sabotage, it's that you recognize it much more quickly and you take care of it when you do. So
yeah.
But because the enemy again likes to get into the mix, and so it's not always just yourself, just saying. So but primarily self-sabotage kind of has its roots in not wanting to be uncomfortable or being afraid of change. So and this is something, it can look way different in a lot of different ways, and what is productive for one person can be self-sabotage for someone else. So you really have to kind of recognize your own personal habits related to this.
Yeah. Call yourself on your own crap.
Yep. So
I think it probably doesn't hurt to have some friends either. Because sometimes I can see somebody else doing that. And I think the big thing that I always notice is somebody will be going along real great, and they'll make a lot of progress, and they'll get this close to the finish line, and then they stop.
Yeah.
And they have to do laundry, and they have to do all these other things. And and then 3 weeks goes by, and
yeah, and they're still like that close to the finish line. Yeah.
I did this thing called 20 minutes from done.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that I had that were 20 minutes away from completion for various reasons.
Yeah. And that's, for whatever reason, the last 20 minutes of something is the hardest, I think. Well, getting started and then finishing, like those two pieces are the biggest obstacle. Yeah. So especially watch for self-sabotage to crop up at those critical junctures. Or I think also in times of transition, if you've got other things in your life then that are transitioning, then you might have that same disruption happen at another time.
So, and some of that can be valid, but a lot of times too, I think it's like, it's a good thing to tell yourself, like, well, I can't do that right now because.
Very convenient excuse, yes. It's so logical.
It looks so valid.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, one of the things for me, I have in my artwork, I have a giant painting that I have been, normally I paint very fast. So for me and this is by far like many times the size of anything else that I've attempted before. But yeah, it was one of those things where I got started and then I just kind of went off the deep end and was making all kind of excuses not to go in there and get it done. So, and interestingly, there was a period of time when that was sabotage. And then there's a period of time now where it feels more like the piece is waiting and I'm not sure for what. So still haven't finished it, but there's a different sense of, there's a timing element and it's not the right time. So make of that what you will. There's a lot of things God asks us to do, we don't necessarily know in the moment. So but in that,
that is really a tricky one to figure out, because I think you have to know which way you lean on that, because there are people I know that are forever waiting on God and they never do anything because we can't possibly get ahead of God. But then there's me, who probably does a little more than I should at times. So if I felt like I needed to wait on God, then I probably do, is what I'm thinking. But
well, and I tend to be more active.
Either way.
Yeah, I tend to be more action oriented, point me in a direction and off I'm going. God more has to say, okay, that stop. Hey, wait, come back this way a bit and then turn left. It's like supposed to turn left at Albuquerque. What were you doing? No. So, and that's different. Personalities are different. And that's part of, I think, that the trick. We can't tell you like, oh, if you're doing this, then this is self-sabotage, because it may be, and it may not be. It really depends. And I think part of what to look for is, are you doing that from a position of peace, or are you, filled with kind of anxiety, fear? Are you really stressed about it? All that kind of stuff. That's kind of a good indicator of.
Yeah, I think anything that makes you uncomfortable, you start to watch that and watch where your avoidance is. Are you avoiding it because you're uncomfortable, or
yeah,
feeling like you're not good enough, or whatever the things are? But
yeah. And I see this a lot with people about to publish their first book, especially, although it can happen with any number of books. Right at the end, there's always this, oh no. And, and people just absolutely freak out because they're about to put something that they've invested a lot of time and money out into the world for everybody to read, which is of course what you want, but it's also a terrifying thing at the same point in time. And that's when perfectionism will kick in, and start really nitpicking all kinds of different things, or, oh, maybe I need to research more of this, or, oh, maybe I need to do this, or maybe I need, then you start any and all little bitty things that aren't.
I was fine until I had to market the book. It's like, oh my gosh, people are going to read this.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just out there collecting dust on Amazon, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. People are actually going to find it.
Money behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Clutching those pearls. Yeah.
I know. And my last book, I've got 8 books now, and my last one was hard for me to put out.
Yeah, I just published my 35th, and it was the same thing. All of a sudden I was like, oh no. So, but I was like, okay, that's and just carry on. Like because I'm well practiced at this by now. But it was fun, and it's the first one that I've published in a while. So I don't know if it was partly that, because there have been quite a few others that I don't remember there being that kind of last minute, oh, what am I doing? So
yeah. Well, and I wrote it by myself, and it was a departure from what I was normally doing. So
yeah,
that's part of it. But when I'm working with other people, I'm like so busy trying to drag them across the finish line that I don't have time for my own issues.
like, finally, they're ready. Yeah.
So maybe that's the secret. Just get somebody else in there with you.
You can be too annoyed at their issues to be bothered with your own. But I do think if you're working on any kind of a group project, kind of recognize those patterns in other people can be helpful. So that way you can kind of say, hey, here's, this is what appears to be happening. Obviously you can't make them not, do whatever it is that they're doing to delay the process. But sometimes people just need to recognize that that's what's happening, and then they can carry on and push on through. So but
yeah, something that I've done, I've used one of your collarbones exercises, and my statement has been, I get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which seems pretty broad, seems to work for multiple situations for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's collarbones are great exercises to do that for whatever it is that you're, because they can be very specific. Broad ones like that work really well. And I think partly because if it's kind of your default strategy, then you can start with that one and then you can get more specific if that doesn't kind of get you
Right.
nudged along the path or whatever. So yeah.
Do you have a video that we can refer them back to about that? I know there is one, but I can't remember what it's called.
I am pretty sure that I do. We will put the link for that in the description because I don't remember what it was called either. So I could just to briefly, so just this spot right here, underneath your collarbone, there's kind of a little hollow. And so you just rub with 2 or 3 fingers lightly. So, and you say 3 times whatever statement that it is. So I am comfortable with being uncomfortable. I am comfortable with being uncomfortable. I am comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then tap it in here. And that's kind of like telling your system, this is the new normal. This is the truth that we want to believe. So that's your basic collarbone statement. So, but I think we've got where we cover that more in depth maybe. So if we find out, we'll post a link below in the description. So,
and you know, if you wind up in our classes, all of that is in our actual class too, Supernatural Business. So.
Yeah, we cover a lot of the head trash. That's kind of my primary zone of responsibility. So, because that it's your head trash stuff, the blocks, the self-sabotage, all of that is going to be the thing that's going to not allow you to push through and to do the thing that God's called and gifted you to do. So, or become the person that he's gifted and called you to be. So, and that is a sad, tragic loss for the world if you're not able to do that. So, because there's only ever one you. So, and you have something wonderful and beautiful that the world needs. So, or else God would not have created you, and he did. So,
at a time as this.
Yep, absolutely. So, as we mentioned before, that you can watch out 2 of the big ones, kind of roots of the or manifestations of self-sabotage or procrastination and perfectionism. So self-esteem issues also come into play quite a bit, that, you know, and imposter syndrome, all of those kinds of things. So if you, but there, it so much depends on who you are, what your experiences have been in life. You know, if you were ridiculed as a kid for doing X, Y, or Z, and you've got a lot of trauma around that, or there's just
it's so individual.
Yeah, it's very individual. So, and as well as the time of your life. So it may change. Like what gets me now isn't what used to get me. So, which is good. Progress is good. But I do, I do. If you need kind of help getting pointed in the right direction of some of the routes that you want to look for, I have a short quiz that you can take on my website, emotionalandspiritualhealing.com. And we'll put the link in the description of this as well for that. So right now, as we record this, the quiz is right there on at the top of the page, I think on the left-hand side, and you can just take it there. So, and it will direct you to kind of 14 of the most common negative emotions that people struggle with, as well as give you tools and strategies to heal those. So, so hopefully that will be helpful for you. All righty, we will talk to y'all next time.